So step one is finding inspiration. I begin by gathering paintings that spark something in me, pieces that I feel drawn to and want to use as a foundation for my own work. I'm already saved a lot of favorite artwork on Pinterest, and if you've been following me for a while, you probably know that I'm really deeply inspired by the Pre Raphaelite style. And from there, I curate a small selection of paintings that capture the mood that I want, and I build a mood board around them. I'm also deeply in love with the work of Sajan, especially his beautiful 19th century costume. And for this piece, I wanted to stay in a pastel pink theme, so I select references of ladies that dress in delicate pink tones to match the feeling that I was going for. After I already prepared the mood board, I used Midjourney, an AI tool that generates painting ideas based on the mood board I curated. And from there, I took the concept it gave me and make my own adjustment if needed to fit my artistic vision. So the next step was doing some practice on mini-size canvas. I don't always do small study before starting a big painting. It really depends on the situation. But this time though, I had so many beautiful ideas generated by Midjourney, and I already picked two concepts that I like the most and I cannot choose between them, so I decided to paint them both. I find that doing small study before jumping into a larger canvas can actually be super helpful. It allows you to explore color choices and composition in a low pressure way, of course, because you just paint on mini size and cheap canvas. So when you move on to the bigger piece, you feel much more confident. And in my case, it was like hitting two birds in one stone. I got to explore both ideas that I love and prepare myself also for the final painting. The mini canvas that I'm using for practice is actually a very cheap panel. I usually use this when I want to test my ideas that I'm not quite confident enough to commit to on a larger canvas, or just for studies like master copies or color practice. Since the quality is pretty average, the paint doesn't show up as vibrant. The surface tend to absorb the paint so much, so I usually have to apply multiple layers to get the result that I want. Even then, the final look still doesn't pop as much as it would on a higher quality canvas. I think that's how it feels to me. Finally, I started working on the main painting. I'm painting on a linen canvas that has been primed with gesso and toned with a layer of burnt sienna. To begin, as usually, I did a light sketch by marking the key point to measure proportion. I always try to sketch directly onto the canvas rather than drawing detailed beforehand. There's a couple reasons for that. Firstly, I personally find this approach more comfortable and relaxing. It feels more intuitive and quicker for me than carefully measuring and drawing everything out, which make me feel very stressful. And secondly, I think it's helped me in improving my sketching skill. There's something that I also feel very artistic to use the brush to sketch onto the canvas and blocking in form directly with the brush as I go. When painting from AI generated references, I have to be extra careful. It's easy for the artwork to feel unnatural or flat. I pay close attention to color and try to make sure my character has enough depth and three-dimensionality. One of the most common mistakes, especially when using AI prompt without a real-life model, is not pushing the contrast enough. Because for now I don't have much opportunity to have live models, and instead I use AI as a creative tool. I often find myself going back and forth, constantly adjusting the light, shadows, and contrast. I've been gradually improving this through practicing all master copies, which taught me just how important form and structure are when it comes to making a portrait feel real. Everything, including the human body, is built from shapes and forms. If I don't define the light and shadow clearly, the forms appear flat instead of dimensional. So even when painting a face, I try to imagine it in terms of geometric shapes, contouring it in a way that makes it feel organic and alive. And one key lesson I've learned through my own master copy study is to be more mindful of the color saturation. For example, when painting cheek, I used to apply just one color mixture across the entire area, but I've come to realize that even the cheek itself has a lot of variation. For example, warmer pinks closer to the eyes and cooler, slightly greenish tone lower down. These subtle shifts bring the painting to life. Another thing I gradually learned to improve is how I handle highlight. When I first started painting, I often make mistake of not making the highlight bright enough. Over time, I realized that highlight actually need to be painted with thicker paint than the shadow areas. I've become more patient with my process, going back and forth to adjust colors, deepen shadows, and build up highlights until the painting has enough contrast and balance. Of course, I'm still learning and growing every day, but I'm genuinely proud that I've keep showing up to paint consistently. One of the biggest changes I noticed in myself is the way now I use reference. Instead of just copying what I see, I started to analyze and interpret the image more thoughtfully when recreating it on canvas, because our eyes can be easily tricked. Sometimes what looks right in the photo might actually look flat and dull on the canvas. So I gradually learned to trust my instinct more, put contrast, and adjust for depth to bring my painting to life.